Hello and welcome to Fortreal TV. My name is Raymond Ijeomah and I'm a real estate entrepreneur as well as a property lawyer here in Nigeria. This video is highly based on demand and I just needed to do it today, right? In this particular video, we're going to be having a very important conversation around what is referred to as the CFO or the certificate of occupancy. Now, there are issues around this subject matter, quite a sensitive issue, but I need you to really pay attention. If you're someone who buys properties or invests in real estate, generally, it is important that you watch this video to the very end because what I want to share with you has the capacity to save you millions of naira, right? So before we go right into the heart of the conversation, I need to let you know that this video is brought to you by Fortreal Rei Ltd, a real estate company registered here in Nigeria, and we bring you the best of real estate generally, property law, investment opportunities, and everything in between. All right, so if you want to subscribe, do it to subscribe and just stay in touch because we are definitely committed to you. So let's jump into the conversation. Real estate in Nigeria. And on my left, we have Mr. A, and on my right, we have Mr. B. Mr. A is the genuine owner of this land, right? And he has the approval and the necessary documents that relates to the ownership of the land, right? And Mr. B ordinarily is a trespasser. But I need to quickly say before I go further into the conversation that you need to understand that this is where the importance of good documentation for your land comes into play, because you ordinarily cannot predict this guy. Like I used to tell some of our clients that depending on what they are buying properties for through us, is that we would guarantee that you are going to get a genuine land through us. However, what we cannot guarantee is this guy. And that is why part of our advice upon purchasing properties through us is that we let you know that you should take possession. And one of the things, possession, it means a lot of things in law. And part of what possession could mean is that you survey the land, you fence the land, you do certain things to show ownership. You don't just buy it and leave it follow. Except you're buying within an estate where there's a higher level of security and protection for your land because of the real estate company's presence. And of course, trespassers are largely far from such transactions or estates, right? So what I needed to get from here quickly before we go into the heart of the conversation is that peradventure this guy comes into reality and decides to threaten you, the genuine owner of the land. The only thing that would guarantee when the matter goes to court that you are going to win is that you have good documentation over your land, because every land case falls under civil jurisdiction, and under civil cases generally judgment is given in favor of either of the parties depending on the worth and the strength of evidence that is brought before the court. So ordinarily, like I'd say to some people, that it is not ordinarily a court of justice, right? It is actually a court that decides upon the evidence brought before it, preponderance of evidence. So if this guy possibly gave his documentation or title documents to somebody who doesn't understand real estate transactions, or is not a lawyer, or is, because there are people who do take their title documents to the streets to prepare for them, typists, right? Cyber cafe, people do that, right? So if this guy had done something like that, there's a high chance that this guy, who possibly had done all the right things, even though he's a trespasser, is going to win this guy in court. So at that point, you basically will not blame the court. You're basically going to blame yourself, because the court decides to give judgment based on what they are saying. So the point I need to get from here quickly is that you should always prioritize and pay attention to the documentation that you have for your land. Back to the conversation. So Mr. A is the genuine owner of the land, and this guy is a trespasser. And this guy has an approval also, and allocation depending on the state, depending on community approval, generally just some form of approvals at this level. He also has a deed, and he has good history and root of title. He has good history and root of title. He basically just has everything. The only thing he doesn't have is a C of O. While this guy who is a trespasser, this guy is not aware that he has trespassed on the land. He decides to, okay, I'm a smart trespasser and I just put together some fake documents, survey the land. This guy didn't survey the land, so this guy has a survey plan, and this guy doesn't, because you need a survey plan to get a C of O. This guy gets a survey plan quickly, gets it lodged, get the deed, and then he doesn't have good root of title because actually he's not the owner of the land, and then he smartly gets a C of O. This guy doesn't have the C of O. This guy gets a C of O. Now at this point, who actually is the owner of the land? Is it Mr. A or Mr. B? And that is why you need to understand and not always prioritize C of O as a document, because C of O basically means a certificate. A certificate of occupancy, certifying that one of these guys owned the land. So there's a possibility that the government can certify the wrong person. When the government certifies the wrong person, the court has the capacity to revoke that C of O. So if you are the guy that basically just hears that, oh, it's a C of O, and then you are good, let's just buy it and all of that, at that point you may fall into the hand of this guy who possibly do not have the actual right to sell that land. He doesn't have the ownership. The title is not vested in him, even though he has been certified with the C of O. Why this guy, who actually is the genuine owner of the land, has everything intact, but possibly wasn't smart enough or wasn't aware enough to get a C of O. And at this point, the court, if this guy decides to go to court with this guy, if documents are intact apart from the C of O, and they are great, there's a 90% chance that he is going to win the land, and this C of O is going to be revoked. So what am I trying to drive at? I'm sure you pretty much understand it. If you don't, of course, there are numbers on the screen that you can reach out to. What I basically try to say in this particular video is that you shouldn't always prioritize the document C of O. What you should always try to pay attention to beyond the C of O is ownership of the land, history of title, root of title, and everything that you need to know beyond the certification, because actually this is just a proof that this guy is the genuine owner of the land. So if you got questions, we're available to respond to your questions through the numbers shown right on your screen. Again, this was brought to you by Fortreal Rei Ltd. If you are yet to subscribe, I would strongly advise that you do so, because we bring you the best of real estate investment opportunities, property law issues as it relates to real estate, and everything in between. Again, my name is Raymond Ijeomah, and I'm a real estate entrepreneur as well as a property lawyer here in Nigeria. Please do enjoy the rest of your day.